Hey beauties, welcome back to the Real Girl Talk podcast radio show. I am your host, Sherry Ricard. I am a medical professional, business leader, author, speaker, and adversity recovery specialist, bringing you incredible guests, Friday Fire messages, sharing business, beauty, and lifestyle tips to help you create an abundant life, and always committed to keeping it real. Now let's dive in. Hello, ladies. Welcome back to Real Girl Talk Podcast Radio. And I have a Friday Fire message for you today. I hope you guys are liking these Friday Fire messages. I really wanted to do something a little different. I have a ton of guests and a lot waiting in the wings for recordings, but I had a lot of messages that I really wanted to cover. So I hope you're enjoying them. I appreciate the feedback for those that have been telling me that you're enjoying the Friday Fire messages. If you are, let me know. You can send me an inbox message on Instagram at Real Girl Talk Podcast, and I'll message you back. Thank you so much. Today, our Friday Fire message is going to be talking about something that I think a lot of us may be suffering from time to time, especially after the pandemic. And I'm going to give you 6 sleep tips for insomnia, or as some scientists want to call it, coronasomnia. And I'm also going to talk about the upside of negative emotions, okay? Because it kind of fits in with what we're going to do on the 6th step of sleep. So let's just kind of dive in, because I know that you guys know there's no doubt that the pandemic, we can all agree, has wreaked havoc on our sleep for many of us. For some, we worry about health, we worry about our finances, we worry about if we're going to keep our jobs, and a lot of this keeps us awake at night, right? For others, adults and kids, the blurred lines between remote work and school and our personal lives make it challenging to know when to even step away from the screen and even start to relax. So the problem has become so pervasive that some experts have even termed it coronasomnia. Like I said, some of the scientists. The American Medical Association warns that left unaddressed, this stress-fueled insomnia could potentially raise your risk of depression. Maybe you're feeling depressed right now, and maybe it's from coronasomnia. It can also cause you to have high blood pressure. So make sure you're checking your pressure, ladies, and other concerns that linger even after the pandemic is over, okay? So good sleep isn't just crucial for feelings and functioning your best every day. It can also improve your immune system, which is what we all want to do. So let's talk about the 6 steps. Number 1, build a strong foundation. What is that, Sherry? It hardly sounds exciting, I know. But then again, sleep hygiene, which is what this is called by building a strong foundation, isn't meant to even be exciting. Instead, sleep hygiene refers to the habits we should all follow to set the stage for a good night's sleep. These include using a comfortable mattress. For those of you that can afford a Tempur-Pedic mattress, I highly recommend it. Also, a good pillow. They make Tempur-Pedic pillows. And you know, if you have the My Pillow, I want to get one of those. Tell me what you think about those, because I heard that they're really good. I know they've taken them out of the stores because political BS, but My Pillow is still going strong online. So let me know if you have a My Pillow and if you like it or not, because I'm really thinking about buying some of those. Another thing that you want to do is block out bright light and distracting noises. For those of you that go to sleep with the TV on, this is a battle, a nightly battle sometimes for my husband and I. And also, you have to stick to a bedtime and a wake up time. I did not do this before. My husband and I, gosh, we've been doing this for a while now. It's probably been maybe a year, maybe under a year, that now that we're empty nesters, and it's just us, we go to bed at the same time. You know, I used to stay up and work till midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, whether it be working on books or preparing, a talk. I didn't have any of that last year. I didn't have any speaking events during the coronavirus because there just weren't any. So I really got in a habit of shutting it down at a decent hour. And then he and I just decided that we were going to bed at the same time. And going to bed earlier has really changed me completely because I was never, ever a morning person. I don't know that I would call myself a morning person now. However, I function better in the morning because we have set bedtimes and we go to bed at a certain time and we get up at a certain time. And it truly, truly does make a difference. So also, if you look, according to the National Sleep Foundation, you should also avoid caffeine, who's guilty, 6 hours before you go to bed. And I thought this was really interesting from the National Sleep Foundation. You should set your bedroom thermostat between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. For some of you, that's freezing, but I will tell you, our house stays at 68. We like it cold, and then we grab our blankets in front of the TV or we snuggle under the covers at night. So we like it cold here. I can't say that our visitors do, but we do. But that is actually the optimal temperature for sleep, 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit. I never knew that. Also, number 2 in your tips for a good sleep is set a routine. So the pandemic has thrown a wrench in most of our daily routines. I know if you work from home still, you can keep hitting that snooze button without worry because you don't have that commute time anymore, right? And that, of course, means that you stay up later, just like we talked about setting a bedtime. The downside, we crave routines and schedules to keep us on track during the day. And that same goes for bedtime. So I'm telling you, I've done it. It makes a big difference. Ladies, I want you to try it. I want you to try it for 7 days. Go to bed early. When I say early, to me, like, I don't know what you guys call early, but we've been going to bed at like 9 o'clock, and that's super early for us. So try to stick to that same schedule. If that's what you decide to set to that same schedule that you did when you were actually in the office. Factor in breaks throughout the day, as well as, some time when you can power down your computer and leave work behind like you did when you were going to work. Work the same like that from home. And so when it gets closer to bedtime, I want you to start ushering in that sleep with those rituals like dimming the lights, taking a warm bath if you can, or shower, and doing some of those gentle stretches. I stretch my back, I stretch my legs, and I stretch my neck before I go to bed. And I do that in the morning as well because, I'm not getting any younger. Number 3, and this may be hard for some of you, move your office. Again, sleep experts say that you should only reserve your bedroom for sleep and sex. And some of you have sex wherever. I'm just saying, this is what they say. You should reserve your bedroom for that. You should not be doing your office work from your bedroom. And I think that it's more important these days now than ever. So your home office could be located anywhere in your house, but you don't want it to be in your bedroom if at all possible. Remove your computer, remove your equipment from your bedroom, and relocate them to another part of the house. If that's not possible, then make yourself a promise that you won't work from the bed. Don't take your laptop and your calendar and all your notes and all that stuff to the bed with you. At least maybe have a separate desk in the corner if you can't relocate to another part of the house. Number 4, and I say this with sweet kindness because we're all guilty, stop the scrolling. How many of you scroll on your phone before you go to bed, and the first thing you do is scroll as soon as you wake up? That is a horrible routine, and that is a horrible, horrible habit. And I know a lot of you right now are going, I know, I just can't stop. But you have to stop the scroll. How many times have you gotten comfortable, dim the lights, only to go over there and pick up your phone and begin mindlessly checking social media, watching videos, or even shopping online? Okay? It's a tempting way to try to unwind, but it actually has the opposite effect. In fact, this practice actually is called revenge bedtime procrastination. And if you did not hear the Friday Fire message 2 weeks ago, or maybe in a week ago, on procrastination, I would suggest that you go back and listen to the message that I gave on procrastination and what it talks about biblically in that, because I think you're going to enjoy it. So basically, stop the scroll. When you're doing this, it's called revenge bedtime procrastination. Whether you're staying up late, scrolling through the phone, playing your video games, watching TV, you could be doing it in an attempt to reclaim some of that downtime that you lost during the day. And you call this your downtime or your wind down time. But I'm telling you, that's going to backfire. Instead of relaxing, what you do is you end up feeling more stress and you get even less precious sleep that you already are lacking, especially if you're watching the news. Don't go to bed listening to the news. You talk about stress you out. If I go to bed with the news on, at least I've gotten my husband to change the channel from the news when we are going to sleep. And I still have to battle him sometimes on the television to turn it off. But don't listen to the news. I mean, you'll have dreams and nightmares about the border crisis and everything else that's going on. That is not a restful sleep. So if you can, I want you to schedule some sort of break during the day instead of using that time to scroll. Maybe you want to take a walk, or you could do a quick workout if you have a Peloton, or if you want to go on YouTube, whatever you want to do. Anything but scrolling. You could even read a few chapters from a really good book. Perhaps my books, Strong Women, Wake Up Call, a Mother's Grief Journey. And then there's another book I'm going to remind you about for tip number 6. But right now we're at tip number 5. Tip number 5, and I actually utilize this tip and it works wonders. I'm just going to tell you right now, it is block blue light. So number 5 tip for getting good sleep and releasing insomnia is block blue light. So blue light blocking glasses have actually skyrocketed, and I'm sure that you know that. They're very popular right now. Many of us have engaged in remote work, and so we're staring at our screens all day long on the computer. And that's because the reason why they have rose in popularity is because they're non-prescriptive spec filters, and they filter out blue light, which is basically, it's a type of light that's emitted from our computers, our smartphones, our tablets, and it even comes from our television, and it can contribute to eye strain, and it can lead to headaches. So you may be working in front of your computer all day without any blue light blocking glasses, and you find after several hours of staring at your laptop and working, you have a headache, and you only thought it was from the person you had to listen to on the conference, and it was actually from your laptop itself. Okay, but blue light may have just a little bit of downside. It can disrupt sleep. It suppresses the body's production of melatonin. Melatonin is actually your natural sleep hormone. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about melatonin and what it does for you later on when our good night capsules are released from our new CBD company that my husband and I are launching. When our company launches, I will tell you our good night capsule has no melatonin in it, and I'm going to be explaining to you why it doesn't. Anyway, we'll get to that later, but a lot of you may take melatonin capsules or gummies and things like that, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when our company launches, and we're hoping maybe for the next 4 to 5 weeks, we're going to have a big launch, which will be amazing. But I will tell you that like I said, your melatonin is your sleep hormone. And one recent study, people had reported sleeping longer and better when they wore their blue light glasses during the day, and they were more productive at work. You can actually find these blue light glasses online at various outlets and retail markets. I'm not going to plug one right now unless one of them wants to buy an ad on my show, but you can scroll, not at night or in the morning, but at optimal hours, and find some blue blocking glasses. I have some. I love them. Mine actually have a little bit of reading prescription in them, and I use those during the day when I'm staring at my computer and having to be in conferences and meetings or doing speaking virtually and things like that. So moving on to tip number 6, and I'm going to elaborate a little bit on this tip because this is something that's really close to me, and you guys know that I talk about it quite a bit. But the number 6 tip is, I'm calling it let it out. What does that mean? So during the pandemic, I don't even want to say that word anymore. That's probably why I stumble when I say it. But the pandemic has been really hard for us. Okay. There's no shame in feeling like you can't go it alone. I understand. This is why I am an advocate and a preacher for writing down your thoughts in a journal. So I'll just plug my other book, Create Your Life, 30-day devotional and lifestyle workbook. You can get it on Amazon. There's a lot of room in that journal for you to write down all of your thoughts. I also take you through 30 days of prayer, which is something amazing you could do every single night before you go to bed. You could say your prayer and then you could do your wind down there and write in your journal. I actually give you plugs on what to say and what to think about. So you kind of know, like I lead you towards your writing. You just don't have to come up with something on your own. I give you questions, you answer them, and it's basically called letting it out. You let it out on paper. And a lot of times when we do that, then we're avoiding letting that out to someone that could come back and boomerang against us or offend somebody in some way, the way we actually let it out, if that makes sense. I hope it does. So you can really simply crafting the next day on a to-do list is really good. It's a great way to release some stress and unwind before bed. That's okay. Remember that we won't be in this situation forever. A lot of us are coming out to our normal again. Some of us are creating new normals again, but you have to address the stress instead of storing it up in order to get a good sleep. A lot of times you do have to let this out. And when you do this, I really feel like you start sleeping better and you can hit the ground running the next morning. And I'm going to kind of elaborate a little bit on letting it out because it has a lot to do with the upside and downsides of negative emotion. So I want you guys to think back as kids. You are often taught to bury those negative emotions or pretend that they weren't there. Some of you may have been taught that way. I actually told my children it was okay to let it out. It was okay to cry. It was okay to vent to me. But some of you weren't. You were actually told to be quiet and, don't cry and don't complain and hush your mouth. But did you know that there's an upside to negative emotions, to anger, sadness, and anxiety that we all feel? They are actually powerful guides for growth and critical in getting your needs met. I will tell you, in fact, that negative emotions have to be heard. This is why I think it's so important to get it out on paper. If you're not comfortable getting your negative emotions out, maybe with a therapist or a priest or a pastor or a really close friend or family member, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're always going to go away, but you are going to feel better. You're going to remember sad things and negative things that happened in your life, but when you can express them, it actually does give you a sense of release and it gives you some relief, and it also helps you to think it through and deal with it, especially if you're writing it or if you're confiding in someone that you truly, truly trust. But I will tell you, it will never go away, these negative emotions, if you ignore them. If you ignore them, if you had childhood issues, they're not going to go away. That can also contribute to poor sleep, is when you have all these things that are bottled up, maybe, with a family member or a friend or, a boss, a business partner, and you bottle things up and you don't get it out and you don't have constructive conversations about things, and it's not going to go away. All right. So you can't actually ignore it. And, I love to research and I love to read studies. Call me a nerd that way. But studies actually show that suppressing your negative emotions can just lead them to resurface in other ways. They can also cause you serious emotional problems, social anxieties, physical health problems. You have to use them as a guide Today's episode is sponsored by Storyworth. Like many of you, I've had to get creative in how I keep up with family. Our choices have really been Zoom, FaceTime, or emails, really. I wished I had found Storyworth years ago and we had a better way to connect. It's been more important to stay in touch with everyone in my life thanks to Storyworth. I can feel closer to my loved ones no matter the distance. Storyworth is an online service that helps your loved ones share stories through thought-provoking questions about their memories and their personal thoughts. It's just a fun way to engage with your family, especially those you can't see in person. After 1 year, Storyworth will compile all your stories, including photos, into a beautiful keepsake book that ships for free. I am excited to see what my daughter creates with Storyworth. As a mom who's lost a child, I understand firsthand how important it is to have a keepsake book that I will cherish forever. What an amazing way to keep memories. Give your loved ones the gift of spending time together wherever you live with Storyworth. Get started right away with no shipping required by going to storyworth.com/realgirltalk. You'll get $10 off your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/realgirltalk for $10 off. You have to actually get these things out. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to go into some steps here, 3 steps to dealing with your negative emotions and understanding what they're trying to tell you. And then also leveraging their upside so you can have success from it. The first thing that I want you to do is I want you to notice the signs. The reason why I kind of blended this message, my Friday Fire message, with the 6 tips to avoiding insomnia and with the negative emotion, because depression, anxiety, and negative emotions are huge contributing factors to people not sleeping well. Now, some people fall asleep really quickly, but they wake up multiple times during the night, or you may think that you slept really well, but you wake up and you're so unbelievably tired. That means that you did not sleep well. Just because you don't remember the night didn't mean that you slept well, okay? And we can cover that in another Friday Fire if you want to talk about REM sleep, but if you don't actually go into REM sleep, then you're not sleeping well. So I want you to first, with these negative emotions and how to leverage them, I want you to notice the signs. How many times have you wished you had addressed an annoyance before it reached a full rage status? Or recognized exhaustion before it actually became a burnout? We don't always recognize the signs of our negative emotions until they've already escalated to where we did not want them to go. So get ahead of these signals by practicing mindfulness. And you may be saying, what the heck is mindfulness and how am I supposed to practice it? Well, you're in luck because I'm going to tell you. I want you to set aside a few minutes a day. Close your eyes. And if you're sitting right now and not driving, you can do it with me. Close your eyes. And I want you to take a few deep breaths in through your nose. And I want you to hold it 4 to 5 seconds. And then I want you to breathe out. I want you to practice a meditation like this every single day. You should do that about 6 or 7 times in a row every single day. In through your nose, hold 4 to 5 seconds, and out, exhale through your mouth. Rest your shoulders when you're doing that. You may find that if you're sitting there right now that your shoulders are tense. If you can drop them a little bit, then you just realized how tense you are when you're trying to relax. So the key is to stop for a moment and tune in to what you're feeling. If you're about to have a blowout with somebody at work, run to the bathroom and do your practice breathing. Okay, this is your practice mindfulness before you blow their hair back at work, because that could backfire on you. Are you holding on to your emotions physically? So this could come out in overeating or lack of eating. You could be losing weight or you could be gaining weight. It just depends on how you react to a certain emotion. You could also be having joint pains, muscle aches, neck stiffness. All of this is a result of a physical problem, your physicality, from the stress that you build up and not getting those emotions out, whether you're screaming in a pillow or writing it in a journal. You know what? Do both. It's fine with me. I want you to let go. I want you to you can't have a tight jaw when you're doing this. Relax your shoulders. Do not clench your fist. Are you resisting or judging the emotion? Don't do it. Thoughts like, I shouldn't be angry right now. It's not that you shouldn't be angry. You just have to get control of your emotions before you react. Have you ever heard someone describe someone else as having no filter? That's what it means. You're not slowing down, and you're not in control of your emotions. And when you're not in control of your emotions, the person that you're angry at now has control over your emotions, and no one should be able to control you that way. So I want you to just observe with a neutral mind. I want you to have awareness, and I want you to trace your patterns and your responses and recognize when your situations get a little fiery, or what's triggering you to set off those emotions, and be real mindful, practice mindfulness on what is setting you off. Okay. Number 2, the first one was notice the signs. And then we started talking about mindfulness. Number 2 is give yourself permission. So negative emotions are uncomfortable, but they aren't meant to be ignored. When we send these messages straight to voicemail, sometimes that's not always good if we're actually talking to someone else's voicemail. But let me give you a little trick. Call your own phone and give yourself these emotions. That way you can actually let it out on your own voicemail, and you can erase it. Because I'm telling you, the whole trick to this is just to get it out. You have to let this out of your system in some way. You cannot let it build up, because it is not going to serve you. It's not going to come out good for you. And something negative, bigger and more serious emotion is going to come from it. So you can tell yourself, I'm angry that my ideas weren't heard in that meeting. There's a good example. Rate the intensity of your emotion on a scale of 1 to 10. How mad are you that your ideas weren't heard in that meeting? Then I want you to take a deep breath and give yourself permission to actually feel it, that anger that you have, and then let it go. I want you to tell yourself, and this is an example, it's okay to feel angry. I know my ideas are valuable and that it wasn't personal. I know that Susie Q wasn't trying to be a rural pain. I know she likes my ideas. They were just running out of time to hear my wonderful, valuable ideas. You can tell yourself that. You know why? Because you are worthy. You are worthy to get your ideas out. And if someone else isn't allowing you to do that in the meeting and you're angry about it, feel those emotions to yourself. Take those deep breaths, acknowledge those feelings, and let it go. But I want you to rate that emotion. Rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. How mad were you actually from that? And I bet you'll find that there are worse things in life that can make you even madder. Is it less intense than it was before? So my point in telling you that is, if you recognize an emotion and someone or something, say in a meeting at work, I'm going to use that as an example, that makes you angry, and you rate that on a scale of 1 to 10, and you take a few deep breaths. So now you've recognized it. When this occurs again, you're in a meeting with the same group of people, and you're feeling a little bit angry because maybe your ideas weren't heard, or it wasn't your turn to speak, or maybe somebody took credit for your work, whatever it is. Is it less intense now that you start recognizing that emotion and breathing through it? I'm going to guarantee you 100% it will be. I promise you it will be. This is what it's called to practice mindfulness. Now, third tip, and this is to reroute your response. If there's a valid reason for you feeling upset, like you're angry because your boundaries were crossed, or you're frustrated because you don't have enough time to complete a project, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you don't have to let it go. You don't have to just let go of the issue, just the stress that caused it. This, again, is practicing mindfulness. So I want you to reframe that emotion and reroute your response. Your action plan will depend on the specifics of your situation, but I want to give you some general guidelines. Anger, frustration, sadness, guilt, and shame. We're going to end with that, okay? Anger. Try not to take it out on others and take things personally. Don't take other people's behavior on. Don't take on their offenses. It's usually not about you anyway. Hurt people like to hurt people, but it's not about you. Their anger that they are having towards you is probably not even about the situation. It's probably about something else. So try not to take on, don't spout back, and don't take on other people's poor, bad behaviors. Okay? That's anger. Frustration. I want you to scan your environment for resources you have that are available to you. Are you listening to good podcasts? Are you listening to motivational speakers? Are you saying your daily prayers? Do you have a relationship with God? Or are you going for a walk? Are you getting some type of exercise and release every day? I want you to scan your environment and your resources. You know what? Even if you have to take your lunch and go eat it in your car because you have to just get out of the work environment, do that. Go to your car, turn on the air conditioner in your car. It's worth it to run that gas to get away from that frustration. If your work environment is causing you to be frustrated, take that hour break outside of that building or go to a restaurant. I don't even care. Go sit by yourself. Who cares? Walk away from the frustration. Sadness. I want you to replace or acknowledge something that you've lost. Now, this is hard because I'm asking you to step outside your comfort zone. When my son passed away, there is nothing that's going to replace my son, right? Nothing at all. But what I did was I started really turning all my emotions to God. I started listening to a pastor that really gave me a lot of strength. For some of you love Joel Osteen, some of you don't like Joel Osteen. It doesn't matter to me. It's whatever feels you. I listen to his podcast every single day. I also listen to other people's podcasts that uplift me. But I really want you to think about your sadness, something that's sad, and I want you to replace it. Or I want you to acknowledge something that you've lost. So by doing that, if you acknowledge that you're having a sadness that day, or you're sad about someone that you've lost, or maybe you've lost your home, maybe you've lost your job, what can you do to replace it at that moment? And as you start to fill yourself up every single day when you think about that sadness, you're going to find that the pain, even though the loss never goes away, the pain and that wound starts to heal. It will start to heal. Guilt. I want you to check your actions against your own values rather than others. What are you feeling guilty of? Do you feel guilty of things? Do you feel guilty to the point where it keeps you up at night? Check your actions against your own values. So, in other words, if you have a value in your life and you don't drink because that's just something that you don't do. And then you go have a drink and you feel guilty about it. All right. Acknowledge it. You had a drink, you feel guilty about it. And then I want you to let it go. So if you have guilty about maybe you gossiped about someone, I don't know. Maybe you cheated on your test. I don't know. Acknowledge that that's what you did. And then I want you to let it go. I want you to release it. And what makes other people feel guilty might not always make you feel guilty. So if somebody says, oh, you shouldn't do that, and you're like, why? Like, I don't feel guilty about that. Don't take on other people's guilt. That's what it means to check your actions against your own values, not that of someone else. Last but not least, shame. I want you to make a list of pride points and then forgive yourself. Make a plan to act with integrity. When you manage your negative emotions, you no longer have to hide from what they have to say. What does your negative emotions have to say to you? You don't have to hide from them if you're acknowledging it, right? If you're taking accountability for it. On the contrary, if you can use their messages as tools to boost self-awareness and reclaim control, acting rather than reacting in a way that fuels your success and lowers your stress, then you win. And that is my Friday Fire message. And if you are listening this today on June 11th, I am on a plane, ladies. I am on a plane to the Hamptons, going to stay with my precious friend, Elise. I am super excited. My hubby is going with me. I'm going to take lots of pictures and I'll do a lot of Instagram stories because I just love to do that. And I hope this really helped you. The 6 tips for insomnia, or what scientists call coronasomnia, and the upside of negative emotions. And I hope you have an amazing, incredible day. Make sure that you leave me some feedback on Apple Podcasts. I love your reviews. I love your ratings. And guys, it really does help spread the word, because when those rankings come in and iTunes pushes up the podcast, then it reaches more women around the world. And you know, my mission is to reach 1 million ladies this year. So I need your help in doing that. I hope you have an amazing day. Step out of your comfort zone, keep your faith in God, and God bless you. Thank you for tuning in all the way through Real Girl Talk. Make sure you subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you happen to have iTunes, would you do me a huge favor and leave us a rating and review of the show? That's the way that we get this message out to more and more people around the world. And you know, giving us a review and rating, something good is going to come back your way. Plus, I know you're the type of person that wants others to live their best life. So can you copy this link, share it to your friends, share it on social media? Remember, people need to be inspired. They need to have tips. They need to have business ideas more than ever right now. And I know that you can help me on this mission. Thank you again so much. If you want to be a supporter of the show, go back to realgirltalkpodcast.com, click Be a Supporter. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart for being a part of Real Girl Talk Podcast. And until next week, keep your encouragement tank full, your faith in God, and create your beautiful life.